Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chess Adoption series where we adopt streamers, YouTubers, and content creators on the game of chess. And if you don't know what a chess adoption is, let me inform you. It's basically when you beat someone 10 times in a row without losing or drawing on the same time control. Last time, we adopted Mr. Anfear, who was a streamer on Twitch, playing chess 1300 ELO, and became my third chess child. Today, we are adopting someone called the Chess Crusader. Here is his channel. Is a very good friend of mine. We like to talk a lot. We try to learn from each other to play chess. And today I adopted him. It took a while, but we managed to adopt him and make him my chess child. It took a grueling 1 year because there were a lot of time constraints. Like, had to take a break, had to go there. I also couldn't stay up long because sometimes like 4 a.m. I just couldn't stay up this long. Yeah, it took a year. My chess skill certainly improved on Blitz through the time frame, and today he becomes my fourth chess child, and this is how we'll do it. His channel is in the description. Let's get on with the chess adoption. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the first game. Friendly reminder, this adoption, again, took like close to a year. Probably even a year. I'm not sure. Lost count. This was the time when I was rated 1500 on Blitz, which is 300 points below what I'm currently today, which is 1800. Again, I play these games very, very, very late, 3 to 4 a.m. to be exact. And at this times, my stamina is just to the floor. So I have a little bit of a handicap to deal with, but don't care. Knight of 3, c5. This is still an invitation. g3. Immediately taken out of prep. d5, and now we're playing basically the King's Indian attack, which is basically King's Indian with white, and we play the 4 pawns attack. Rook e1, bishop d6, e4, f takes here, and you close the center like this, and if they go c3, you just completely ignore it, takes, knight c4. You can give away the bishop, it's fine. You give away the bishop pair, it's fine, because the light square bishop is useless. The dark square bishop is probably useless still. If they go for the light square bishop, the engine is just saying give up the second bishop as well, because bishops versus knights, the center is locked. But f4 is actually an imminent danger, which is what makes me keep the bishops on the board. So bishop b4 takes. Now bishop to e6 attacking the knight, and b3 defending the knight. And in this case, you can actually trade the knight because you isolate the pawn. If you have a good tangible reason to trade a bishop for a knight, go do it. B takes c4, castles, rook ab1, rook ab8, rook e to c1, and knight d7. The better move is obviously to take the free pawn. Shockingly, I do not see that. It probably is inexcusable. But yeah, knight d7. And now we have identified a weak square. The weak square is, well, the c5 square. And now we prepare to completely take it over. First we go queen d6 to support the knight like this, and after queen to d2 we go b6 to create a nice little outpost square, and after that we go knight to c5, and now we're controlling the center, we're attacking the center, and ladies and gentlemen, it's actually much worse than that, because knight to d3 is a fork of queen and rook. We take the rook, we go queen f6, and now we go wild, we go g5, baby. The idea is if you take, then we trade queens, you're down in exchange, and a pawn, you're down in exchange for and with an extra pawn. So yeah, after h3 though, I still insist on this variation, so now he sees it, and now queen takes, knight takes, rook f6, and rook b to f8, king f1. This is where we'll start to throw a little bit because I'm trying to flag his ass. Knight a5, rook a3, rook e8. Now I could have probably just completely taken this pawn. Guess what? I do not, because I'm probably just stupid and should probably quit this game. Just kidding. Also, YouTube notifs everywhere. Rook e8, I don't know what sort of drugs I was on. Obviously, I'm not talking about the illegal ones. I'm talking about, medicine. Like, those caramels for, like, for the throat, right? Those ones. Not what you're thinking. Knight takes b5, rook a to f8, knight f3, knight takes c4. Now we take the pawn. He doesn't see the pawn. We don't see this tactic, which basically we take back a piece. Knight a5, rook a3, h6, rook b3. He hangs a rook. We take it, and he runs out of time. That's the first game. And that's a very good warm-up for what's about to come in the next 9 of them. Let's go to the second one. Alright, second game, we have a Trompowsky attack. And before we start doing anything else, I have to say the Trompowsky attack was cited like around 6 or 7 times in this Dobson Mats. Again, I have a playlist on the Trompowsky attack. I will pick up working on it again once I have sufficient time. For now, we can just enjoy some games. Now, back in the day, I didn't play the e3 g3 setup. I played the e3 c3 setup, which main idea is to just attack. I did not do that. Now bishop d6 and bishop d3, bishop e6, knight f3, castles, queen c2. Yeah, this is just standard stuff. And now h3 attacking the bishop. He takes, which immediately gives away a bit of advantage because the bishop can actually work together with the knight. And the light square bishop will just basically stand unopposed. And the dark square bishop will just continue to be useless. Knight takes f3, rook e8, castles, and f5, trying to get a little aggressive. Now a3, now the bishop has literally no targets and nowhere to go. This is why the dark square bishop is considered a disadvantage for black. Knight e7, b4, and knight to c8, and a4. We take a little bit of space away from the opponent. c6. And knight to d2, trying to reroute somewhere else. b6, b5. Now c5, and this actually benefits us because we like to keep the position close. Now I know the engine is arguing that I lost advantage, but actually there is plans. Now after bishop f3 and bishop c7, there's actually a tactic here with the form of knight takes. If you take, I take like this. I do not see that because reasons. g3. With the idea to go king h2, rook h1, and king g2 because I want to start an attack. Knight f6, rook a to e1, knight e4, takes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, opposite color bishops, but the thing about opposite color bishops is it favors the attacking side because the other bishop just cannot defend because they're different colors, right? There you go, you learned something. Now queen d5 and directly walks into my attack and loses 2 pawns, and after bishop d5, f4, desperate times call for desperate measures, and sacks 2 rooks. Now on 2. I take this one first. I should have taken the other one, and after this I probably still could take this, but I was scared of this and forgot I had this. Guess what? I don't take the rook. It's fine though. It's still completely fine, but after this, now the computer is jumping off a cliff. Because of the move queen g5 check. And after rook g3, I have to sack my rook back. However, the engine's going to go on a roller coaster of ideas here. And after rook g1 and h5, rook takes g6 for some reason. I guess I just like to take free pawns. Queen f3 check, king f1, queen takes f2, blunders the queen in one move. We take, he takes, we take, and king h7 takes here. And we win on time, just clutching the victory from the jaws of defeat. And we go on to the third game. Fast forward to 1600 ELO Blitz, we have the correct way of playing the Trompowsky. I'm not saying the C3 Trompowsky, E3 C3 Trompowsky is wrong. I'm just saying that the E3 G3 setup move order is a little bit better because it's more positional, it's more fitting to my style, and it's a little bit more straightforward. In my opinion. Bishop f5, bishop g2, bishop e7, c3. Now we go for c3. And the difference of this one is that the bishop is actually a more comfortable square and will actually stay on the board for quite a while. Queen d7, knight f3, unless you can just immediately go after it in the future. Queen d7, knight f3, knight b d2. And after b5, I could take here and go here, but I just did not see that. Instead, I just my mind just switched off, and I was just focused on doing the Trompowsky attack plans. And then on the third move of the game, in the sequence, I'm like, oh, wait, what? You just left the bishop here. Let me just take that. So, yeah, this is when my mind picked up the motion. Again, these games are really late at night, so my brain is actually kind of smoothed. And f5, queen to c2, bringing the queen out of the action. b4, c takes, a takes, and not taking back. No, rook a to c1 attacking the knight, and knight d8, and now we can take this free pawn. And after the end of the sequence, the bishop has to move or get defended, and after that I can take here. And even though the pawns are really weak, it's actually black who is worse here. Because I have 2 passed pawns, and I'm actually up some pawns. a4 instead, with the idea to go b3 to just lock that side completely. Knight e6, knight to c4, c5, and d takes. The better move is this because it would basically just win me this pawn. And after this, we just end up in this endgame where I have 2 passed pawns. And it's the same scenario. But d takes c5 instead. Bishop takes, rook fd1, queen c8, bishop h3, forcing pretty much the move g6. Bishop f1, now we go back. Knight g5, knight to d2, discover attack. He just doesn't see it at all, and for some reason plays knight f3 check. We take, he takes, we go here. We're up bishop, we're winning this endgame. And rook fd8, rook, I don't know why I wanted to say knight c to d5. I wanted to say rook c to d5. I just can't speak English. Rook takes d5, rook takes d5, here, and we just win this endgame because everything is protected. I'm up a piece, I'm up a pawn, probably 2 pawns. And after this, we just take this pawn here, and I don't know, don't ask me why I didn't do this. I don't know. Bishop c4, I'm just trying to go fast. h5, rook d5, rook c6, rook d7, f6, rook d5, rook c7, king e2, h4, takes, rook g4, rook d5, f5, check, king g5, rook f4, and we win on time, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the 3rd game. Now, let's move on to the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, this one was a fun one. The Chess Crusader starts the game with a4. The Ware opening. Who could have guessed? So guess what? I played e6. I want to troll a little bit, okay? I want to troll a little bit because, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see some brilliancy. c4, c5, and somehow this bullshit opening transposes to a Sicilian kind of thing. I don't know how, but it transposed into something we could remotely call a Sicilian hedgehog. Knight d7 and d3, this is basically like a Sicilian, but the fact you've played a4 and b3 would just look so anti-positional. And bishop g5, it's making my skin crawl, and bishop b2 here, h4. This shit is banana. This game is bananas. b6, I mean, I'm playing the ideas of the Khan. h6, and bishop takes h6, ladies and gentlemen. This move is more common than you think, because people are like, oh my god, you take it out, you just have an attack incoming. No, I have too many pieces. The way you attack in chess is you have to have more pieces, 2 or more pieces than the opponent is defending. I have 2 knights and 1 bishop and a rook. You got 1 knight, 1 queen, and some hope because of the pawns. But you don't actually have anything real here. After rook h3, actually, I just bring all my pieces to the correct squares. You can give me a check, but I'll just run away. And now after this, we go here, and we just defend everything. We defend the knights. And actually, in this position, I decided to sack my knight. You take, and we take the rook. I don't remember. I think this. E5 had a brilliant move on the game review. Yeah, E5 had a brilliant move. I remember it because I analyzed it myself. So yeah, we got a free brilliant here, which is fantastic. This is pretty pog. We got a free brilliant move because actually the pawn is bent. G takes and bishop takes. Just get a rook for knight, which is advantageous. Rook h1, bishop g4. And knight h4, bishop takes, we trade everything, I mean, and now we just walk our king to the center, and then we go here, and now we just king e8 back to the starting square, king f8, and b takes, and we win the game on time. And ladies and gentlemen, let this be a service announcement. Never sacrifice your bishop on h6 unless you're sure you have more pieces equipped to attack. Because if you don't, then the knights will just come and, well, they'll defend the position. So yeah, let's move on to the 5th game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 5th game, and this is actually the first time I managed to get this guy in a Sicilian con. So I somehow tricked him into playing into my stuff. So yeah, bishop e3, d6. You've seen this stuff like a million times. I don't know what knight d2 e2 is. Don't ask me. So yeah, this is just, you've seen this. Also, another thing we need to address. Bishop here moved like a million times. Okay, and then sacrificed itself. Okay, so listen. The bishop moved once. Then it moved again. And again, and again, and it died. So 26.5% of white's moves were made with the bishop, and now the bishop is gone. That's why it's -1. Not only did you trade a bishop for a knight for no reason, it also just, you waste the time. And now bishop takes, queen d2, rook c8, g4, knight c5. Okay, it's clear we're going to war. E5, and this is just a blunder because after this, crisscross applesauce and we win a rook. I don't do that at all. Instead, I give it for a bishop because I didn't see the tactic. E takes, G takes, long castles, bishop f3, queen e3, knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes the knight. This is an excuse for you to give the bishop away because you simplify down to a winning endgame. Queen takes, queen e5, queen d2, queen g5, force a queen trade because the queen is pinned and now there's no more attacks. After this, we give up the pawn for the funnies, king e7, bomb cloud, and he runs out of time. And this is the end of the 5th game. We'll move on to the 6th one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 6th game, and Sicilian once again. Somehow I made this guy play this into a Sicilian. I don't know how he does it. He's against theory. The exact opposite of that. But yeah, it happens. So e6, if chess.com can not lag, that would be amazing. A6, this is like a Grand Prix attack, but the F1 car went off the rails. Probably like a Haas or a Ferrari. Even though I'm a Ferrari fan, I just like to roast my team because our pit crew is actually quote-unquote amazing. There you go, you learned something today. Knight to c3, I guess, is kind of resembling a Grand Prix. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. This position is just so weird. Now, trick question. Where would you develop this bishop? Obviously to the g2 square, because you play g3 and you need to defend the line squares. No, you go to bishop c4. And now you actually let me start an attack. Bishop e2, bishop e7, a3, d6, d4 takes, knight d7, bishop e3, knight g2 f6, and long castles. Okay. It's clear to me that this guy just doesn't like me at all, and he goes long side whenever he has the chance to do it. It's clear that after the 3rd or 4th game, he just he realized that the only way to try and get some chances against me is to go full aggressive mode. And this is exactly what he's gonna do. Rook c8, g4, knight c5. There is a threat here. Now the better move is, of course, take this, because if you take, it's mate in 1. Shocking. I expected he would see that, but I didn't realize that the pawn was free. Knight c5, bishop f3, bishop e7, g5, e5, danger levels, takes, and after this we have knight takes e4, free pawn, takes, bishop d6, and now, ladies and gentlemen, let the fun begin as we play the move queen takes c2 check, which is probably not a brilliant move. I think it's like a great or top engine move. Queen takes c2, rook takes c2 check, and ladies and gentlemen, look at this. Rook takes a2 check. When I played that move, I literally physically jumped because of how amazing and pleasing it looks. It pleased me, definitely. King a2 and rook takes, and this is just simply over, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm up too many pieces. And then a couple moves later, I forced the rooks off the board and lost some time. And the bishops snipe in the distance the knight. This knight, ladies and gentlemen, never got the chance to move. And in case you're doubting that, look at this knight. Look at a g1 knight. It never moved. It just stayed there, menacingly, just looking at all the pieces dying left and right. I didn't even take the knight because it was defended, and I also felt pity for it. So yeah. 7th game. Alright. We have this, which I don't know what it is. It's new territory to me. I just play normal moves when I see stuff like this. And queen takes and bishop g5. It's clear to me that he just doesn't like his bishops. Kind of ironic. Now, in this case, you could argue that the bishop for knight trade is good for white, but it's not actually as insane structural damage as you might think. Now, my chess coach, of course, would just say, "Oh my god, it's so terrible structure you got." It's not actually terrible. Because after a6, I mean, everything is just solidified. There's no fork threats. If you did try to go here, then I'll just move my king. It's an endgame. It's considered an endgame technically, so I don't have to castle. So yeah, e3, a6, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't understand this move. e4. It's the top engine move, but I can understand why it's the top engine move. I guess because you mobilize your knight. That's the only possible explanation I can give. Bishop b7. Long castles. Yeah, this guy really likes long castles, doesn't he? Bishop d7 and bishop c4. Rook g8, rook h to g1, b5. We start an attack of our own. Bishop b3, knight to c6. I have the privilege and luxury of starting an attack and staying and putting my king on the center because you can actually smash my center in any capacity. Knight d4. And he's losing again after the mysterious f5. Trade, if after this trade you just, I think you just lose a pawn after this. If you defend the pawn, there's like rook takes stuff like this, and the knight is just trapped. So long castles, trolling, you can see. Knight takes c6, bishop takes f3, bishop takes c4. This time the trade is justified because the light square bishop for white is terrible, and 2, you isolate a pawn in the center, which is really weak. Bishop c5. And the more pieces that we trade, the weaker this pawn will get. And even though this is an opposite color bishop endgame and the rooks get traded, it will be a draw. And there goes the rooks. They get traded. And now in a rapid game with like 5 or 6 minutes on the clock, you just call it a day. You offer a draw, or you make a repetition, or you go for the 50-move rule. You call it a day. It's a draw, peaceful game. However, this is blitz, and then a couple moves later, he actually lost on time. Time management matters. Even though the position can be completely equal, you can still lose on time. So yeah, that's the forgot the number game. Let's go to the next one. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 8th game, and after this, we go on a 3-month-long break of the adoption mats, and it continues 3 months later. Let me tell you something right now. This is the craziest game of the adoption mats, probably of all adoptions so far, and maybe the closest call I had in an adoption mats. Here we go. We have knight to c3 after d4. Not a good move. It's not a losing move. It's just an inaccuracy. You like to have like d and c pawns together. Knight behind the c pawn support on the center. That's what you want here. But knight to c3 is just an inaccuracy. And I will play King's Indian, but it's a spread defense because the c pawn is blocked. And after a couple moves later, I play the move f6 here. f6 is not a good move because it weakens the diagonal. There is a huge blind spot here in the center, which is what actually gets played. The better move is knight takes. But I go here and bishop b3. The better move is probably in the future or right now to give this check get the diagonal. But bishop b3, rook e8, and now queen d2, a5, long castles, knight to6, h5, g5, and now once again the bishop check. The pawn moves, the bishop sacrifices itself, and then after this, you're just dead here. There's nothing. All the pieces get in, and even though you have a lot of pieces aiming to the king side, none of them can do anything to stop imminent threats on your king, queen, rooks. Unfortunately, he plays the move knight takes g5, which actually gives away all the advantage. Shocking, but it does. F takes, bishop takes, bishop f6. The reason why it does is because even though you have a very weak diagonal, you probably could clutch this somehow. Takes, bishop d3. Rook f8. Again, we allow this, which is not good because you go back to passivity. f3, queen f4. Again, it's in the future the same idea. Takes, still knight e4. I mean, knight d5. But knight e4 instead, and then we just go d5, the knight goes back, We go knight f6, which is wrong. Apparently had to go knight to b6, because the knights could transfer to the queen side. Knight f6, rook d2 e1. Now we take the pawn. In this position, actually, the reason why knight f6 is bad is because your rook gets trapped. Like, in the very near future, like, your rook can get trapped. Knight f6, rook d2 e1, and rook takes g4, knight b4. The king moves up, takes. We defend the rook, and for g5, there's a sacrifice here, this move. And if you take with the rook, you go here, and king f7, which I cannot understand at all. So g5, knight d7, g6, h6. The better move is obviously to bring your knight back. But h6, rook e8 check, king g7. And even though you can block with the knight, it's probably the better move. And once the doubling happens, you got b6, and somehow you got advantage, or it's just probably equal. King g7 though, rook h1, it's plus 11, probably plus 25, probably just mate. And I play the move knight to f6. And ladies and gentlemen, in this position, with a mate in one on the board, white lost in time. And I get a free Rosen trophy, which is basically flag an opponent who had mate in one. A shocking loss for the Chess Crusader. A shocking win for me. I was like, oh my god, I blown a checkmate, what am I doing? And then I see the screen says you won, and I'm like, what? But yeah, that's the conclusion of the 8th game, and probably the solidification of my adoption, because the next 2 games are just a breeze. And I got a 41% accuracy on this one. This was a really close call for the adoption match. It was in jeopardy. But yeah, it's time to move on to the 9th game. Alright, and now, 9th game, 3 months later. The time is more convenient. It went from 3 to 4 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is more convenient, but still shit. I have chess adoptions were like at 1 and 2 a.m., which is very inconvenient. d4, knight f6, and again, the Trompowsky attack. We had a lot of Trompowsky attacks in this one. You could call it a masterclass. And actually, I will be picking up work again on Trompowsky attack. And again, we have e3 and knight to c6, which is the worst approach you can actually take here, because you want the c-pawn with counterplay. There are lines where you can take with the g-pawn, and if they go for their setup, you can go c5, you go e5, you can go knight to c6. That's why you need the knight behind the c-pawn, because it can support both sides. It's not only for white, it's for black as well. E takes f6 though, e3. You can still go for c5 stuff. You can still do this, and then, like, I don't know, knight c6. You can still do this. This is, like, common stuff. Knight to c6, though, completely discards this idea. g3, bishop g2, bishop f5, c3, cancels, bishop takes d5. We take a free pawn. Now, could I have taken the free pawn on the last move? Yes and no. Yes, it's a free pawn, but there is a discover check, and I will 100% fall for that. But c3, castles, now we take, because it's no longer a check. If you try this, thinking you're smart, I just take the knight, you lose. So rook e8, bishop g2 back. This is actually the top engine move. If you let Stockfish think here for a while, yeah, look at that, bishop g2, top engine move. Bishop e4, the reason is you don't want to isolate your bishop, and you need to defend the light squares. Bishop takes, rook takes, you're forced to trade. Now there is no more light square problems, because the knights are there, the queen is there. Rook e8, and castles, and knight to c4. The engine wants c4 here, take a little bit of space, but in my mindset, I'm still playing against the dark square bishop. And the way you play against the bishop, if you don't have the 2 bishops, if you play against the 2 bishops, you need to, if you have, like, okay, let me structure my sentences properly. If you have a bishop, but they have 2 bishops, your bishop is, for example, a light square bishop, you need to put all your pawns with dark squares, so that a bishop cannot do anything. Same situation here, and that's also, like, vice versa with colors. Like, if it's a dark square bishop, you put your pawns on the light squares. No, if it's a light square bishop, you put your pawns on the light squares. There we go, you learned something. Knight to b6, and knight takes. Sooner, it probably didn't have to take it. It's Stockfish's top choice, however, and after knight d2, queen f3, and rook a to c1, we have a plan with c4, a3, and stuff like this. Now, he moves away from the fork because c4, c5 is a fork and the winning of a piece. But queen to c7, and the weirdest thing happens here. Now, I go c4 because you take a bit of space. Knight here, ideas are just impossible, because apparently after this, you can sack the pawn for an absurd trapping mechanism of the knight. But he goes here and blunders a fork, and the entire game is basically just converting my advantage and using my plus advantage, my plus piece advantage. Now, in this position, could he have taken the knight? Yes, but it would immediately lose the game after it takes the pawn. And let's say you go here to defend the promotion square. I would go queen c6, and you're dead. I mean, you could go here. I could just go here, takes, and you're dead. I mean, there's nothing. I go here. I will make my queen very promptly. You can block like this, but I will go here. It's over. I promote to a rook, and it's mate. But rook takes c6. That sequence never happens. It was not a blunder of a knight. It was calculated. Oh god, Jesus. Rook takes c6 and b takes, so you avoid the queen trade. But rook to c1, and I simply use the fact that I'm up a piece to use that piece against you. If you're up material, use the material. Rook d2, and it's basically just getting in. He gives me a free queen, and after this we just get in, we destroy the king, and we mate like that. And now we'll move on to the final game. Alright, last game. And the chess opening that will get the honors of being the opening that adopts the Chess Crusader is the Trapowski attack. You could call this a sponsor if you will. I mean, this opening is just so annoying to face with black. Again, we have d5 and takes e3, and we have bishop f5, but again, in transposition to the shitty knight to c6 move. Again, I'll say this, it's better to have your c-pawn with the d-pawn, because you can, like, in some scenarios, like support with the knight like this, and it's a really good setup. And if you can have your e-pawn as well, you can just throw it forward. Like in some positions, for example, you could go like I'm gonna do some yapping here, but I could show you some idea, like e5, and then after c3 there's this, and after this there's this. I mean, you get it, you get the point. That's why you need the knight behind the c-pawn so you can support in the center. That's a live example. But it takes, and we have this setup. We're going to skip a little here. I'm going to skip it all the way here. A lot of pawns are threatened. Every human being just defends like this. I'm not a normal human being, and I just take the free pawn, which is not actually free because I will just lose the piece. And instead, now the engine wants me to sacrifice two pieces for the queen. So it's basically 7 for 9 points. And you could make the argument I'm not down that much material, but I'm down enough that this is losing. And even though it is losing, I could probably still win this position. I don't want to sound like a narcissist, but I could probably still win this. It's not too hard. I mean, it is hard because you're not a fucking queen. But I could actually not do so terribly. But bishop takes d5, queen takes, bishop takes g3. Captivating and mystifying move. However, it fails to the fact that I can just take the queen first, and now you probably just have to sack the bishop. So like this, takes, and now you're just down a bishop for 2 pawns. Knight g to f3, rook f8, rook ace to g1, and double up the cookies. We go h4, try and break up the structure. Now we go knight to g5, and rook d to e7, e4, f takes, knight takes, and even though we can take the 2 pieces for the cookie, 2 rooks are probably going to beat up a rook and a knight. But instead of that, you can also play an even better move, knight to d8, which blunders a fork, sets up the pieces for the next game, and rook e1, and now we just infiltrate, and we take pigs on the 7th and 6th, that's a new one, and after this trades, and now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've reached far enough in this video, and you've stuck with the channel long enough, you know what's about to happen. Oh yeah! Bad manners. So we take the pawn, we go back, we take this pawn, we go here, take this, and now, ladies and gentlemen, what am I famous for? Making a million knights and BMing you with them. Knight 1, knight 2, and a couple moves later, we have the knight number 3. Try to say it on a different language. I failed. dramatically. And after a couple moves later, we have a rook under promotion. And after that, I tried to promote the a-pawn, but I just couldn't get him off the corner. I could have tried with this, but after like that, I would probably just have to checkmate like this. If he did go here, I would just, I'll do this, obviously. But unfortunately, on the 67th move, how fitting, the 67th move, rook e8, checkmate. And this is how we adopted the Chess Crusader. Again, shout out to his channel, links in the description. And this is how I acquired my 4th chess child. Also a 6-7 reference.